Here with head men's basketball coach Blake Mellinger on Black Friday, day after Thanksgiving. So, Coach, let's start right there. I know a lot of guys are not from near home, and with the schedule being right in the middle of the holiday season, some guys don't get to go home. What'd you do for Thanksgiving? I know a lot of coaches will have players over and whatnot. What was your guys' Thanksgiving plan as a team?
Yeah, we had a morning practice yesterday at 9 o'clock, and then yesterday afternoon, most of the guys came over to my house, and we ate and watched basketball and just kind of hung out for a little while. So it was really good to spend some time off the court with those guys.
I was going to say, obviously, Thanksgiving's a big football day nationally, but we're right in the middle of the non-conference slate for a lot of basketball, both NBA, in their regular season, and Division I and II in the non-conference. There's been some really good D1 games that have gone on the past couple of weeks, particularly yesterday. Was there a favorite that stood out that you guys watched, or were you guys sitting there watching college basketball all day?
Yeah, we watched the Villanova North Carolina game. I'm a big North Carolina fan. We had a couple guys, other guys on the team that were Carolina fans, so we kind of got into that one a little bit. It was a really good game. Went to overtime. Unfortunately, Villanova ended up pulling it out, but still, nonetheless, there's been really good games all week. Like Marquette and Purdue the other night was really good. Marquette and Kansas the night before that. So it's this Thanksgiving week, there's always really good. These Thanksgiving tournaments or whatever. There's really good matchups, really all the way through the week.
As a Spartan myself, I appreciate you not mentioning Michigan State against Arizona yesterday. We won't talk about it. We'll talk about your game moving forward against Wingate to start the South Atlantic Conference season. Before that, we'll get to the win over Southern Wesleyan on Tuesday. Felt like that was a good game for you guys. A tough first half, a Southern Wesleyan team that was really kind of a nuisance. They just hung around even the whole game, and they were only down 4 at halftime. They made some shots after you guys were up a little bit big early in that half. But it felt like a game where you guys kind of got back to your principles. You forced some turnovers. You got out in transition, ran a little bit, and got some really good shooting.
Yeah, it was. Honestly, like I thought we defended really well in the half court. The area where the thought we struggled was transition, and I thought a lot of their transition buckets came off of our turnovers. Our goal was to keep them under 30 points in the paint. I think they had 38, and if I'm not mistaken, they had five almost like fast break layups off of our turnovers in the second half. So if you take out those 5 possessions, I thought we really did a pretty good job. And I kind of think that's where we're at. Like when we have the chance to set our defense and play in a 5-on-5 setting on the defensive end of the floor, we're pretty solid. We just, we got to take a little better care of the basketball to eliminate some of those transition points that opposing teams are getting.
And the headline player for you guys of the night was obviously Patrick Shelley. His first career double-double with 25 points and 11 rebounds as a 6'4" guard that we talked about earlier in the year, who certainly plays up above his size. Big game for him, career highs in a bunch of different categories, but specifically the double-double with both points and rebounds being his career best. We talked about it post-game, so I won't ask you about that performance, but about where you kind of see Patrick Shelley's ceiling this season, and what we saw Tuesday night, something that maybe not 25 and 11, but a performance and an impact on the game that we can expect to see consistently moving forward?
Yeah, I think so. I think the biggest thing about Pat is like he can affect the game in so many different ways. Like the other night, it was points and rebounds, but like he can really defend. Like I think he leads our team in steals, if I'm not mistaken. So there's just so many different aspects of the game that he does really, really well that allows him to impact the game in, a variety of different ways. You could have a game where he's not necessarily scoring the ball really well, but he's, again, he's defending, he's rebounding, he's getting steals. Like there's just, he's just in a lot of ways a stat stuffer. You look at the stat sheet every game, and like he's not just good in like one or two categories. Like you look all the way across the box score, and he's pretty impactful in a lot of different areas.
So Wingate comes to town to open the South Atlantic Conference season, a couple SAC games, and you'll finish a couple more non-conference before being in the full conference schedule. Bulldogs 3-1 on the year. A team you guys only played once last year, didn't end up winning that game. They have a preseason all-conference selection on the second team, and Donnell Nixon, the second. He's playing pretty well this year, averaging 20 points a game already. What have you seen about him on film that makes him difficult to guard, and how do you think you guys match up against him?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good matchup for us. I think, quite honestly, in a lot of ways, we are very similar. They're going to play more of almost like a four guard lineup a lot of times, or at least their fours are like versatile fours who, can dribble, pass, and shoot. So very similar to us from a personnel matchup standpoint. And Donnell Nixon's really good. He can just, he makes tough shots. He can really score in a lot of different ways. So, we're really going to have our hands full with him. But I think overall it's a good matchup. Like, Wingate traditionally is very high power, has a high powered offense. They can really, really score the ball. So we've got to be dialed in on the defensive end. I think that's the biggest key is like, seems like every time we play them, like it's almost like a race to 90 or a race to 100. Like, I'm expected to be a high scoring game. So we've got to find some ways to slow them down on the defensive end of the floor. And I think if we do that, I like our chances.
What's the recipe? What's the key ingredient in the recipe to a win on Saturday against a team? It's understandably difficult to have a team who's both good on offense and good on defense. And Wingate's very good on offense. You mentioned it, one of the most proficient offenses in the league that we have. But because of that, they have some shortcomings on defense. Where specifically do you think you guys can really take advantage of that and win possibly that race to 90 like you talked about?
Yeah, I mean, I think the first thing is like we have to win the margins. And there are a variety of different ways to do that, whether that's, rebounding turnovers. Like I think we're forcing a lot of turnovers right now, but we're also turning it over quite a bit. So we need to cut down on that. We need to continue to force some turnovers through our defense, and we need to take better care of the basketball. And by doing that, I think that gives yourself a chance because we feel like most nights, like if we can win the margins, we're going to shoot a higher percentage than our opponent, on most given nights. So it's honestly, it's about getting more shots than they do. And, I think one thing we've got to do a better job of is we've been putting teams on the free throw line too much. We're fouling a little bit too much. I think we've gotten outscored. Seems like the last two games, our opponents have made as many free throws as we've taken, which is not a recipe for success. So we got to clean some of that up. And we talked a little bit about that after the game on Tuesday night. So I think that really plays a lot into tomorrow's game.
Well, we're looking forward to seeing how it all shakes out on Saturday at 4 p.m. Our first men's and women's doubleheader. For those of you that do not know, the women will play at 2 o'clock, also against the Wingate Bulldogs, and then Blake's squad and the men will take on the Bulldogs at 4 p.m. You can catch it at the Pryor Center or right on Flow Sports. Blake, thank you very much, and good luck tomorrow.
All right, thank you.